So Malignant, guys, is the newest title by James Wan, and it's really interesting because James Wan had stated when he made The Conjuring 2, or I should say directed The Conjuring 2, that he wanted to scare the world one last time, and then he was going to move on to Aquaman, and he started making other movies, Furious 7, and so on and so forth. And so everyone in the horror community thought that James Wan was done making horror movies. I had thought to myself that he probably is gonna, he's kind of moving on, and maybe he'll come back and be like an executive producer, or just produce and help write other future, horror films. And I thought it was a real blow to the horror community because James Wan is so talented at what he does in the horror space. He's a great director overall, don't get me wrong. But that being said, his specialty is horror, and it's not even close. When we look at Saw, when we look at Insidious, and all the different movies, one after the next, he has really become, he's made a name for himself really in the horror genre, but he's also moving in this direction that if he continued making horror movies, he could definitely be considered one of the greatest horror directors of all time. And I think he's certainly up there already, guys, based on the different types of and styles of these horror movies he's made. Some so iconic, right? Well, Malignant is the newest one, guys. It's actually based on an original story, which was from James Wan. The film stars Annabelle Wallis as a woman who begins to have visions of people getting murdered, only to realize the events are happening in real life. So it's a very interesting concept, guys, and I gotta tell you, there's a number of moments throughout this movie that are very unnerving. Certainly, the reveal at the very end is very interesting as well. That being said, though, this story really it doesn't waste much time, right? James Wan does a really good job in this movie of picking up the suspense very quickly, and it doesn't waste any time, trying to kind of build up its story and such. Now, that hurts in certain areas, and it also helps areas as well. One of the things, guys, that I had a complaint about with this movie is there's a lot of, horror cliches in this movie. That being, just as an example, there's a dark hallway, and people are like exploring those dark hallways. It's like, yo, don't go down that hallway. Don't open that door. Don't walk through that passageway. And yet the character does end up ultimately doing it. The characters in Malignant are very interested in what's happening, or they're very curious, and curiosity killed the cat, right? So a lot of curious people that are characters in this movie that just kind of feel very cliche. They also feel like unrealistic, because if you saw something, most likely you're not going to explore it in the, in the dark trenches of this world. And so that being said, outside of some of the cliches that are in this title, I've got to tell you, overall, this movie is really a fun time. It's a great film, I think. From an acting perspective, I thought the acting was great. I even thought, guys, that, when we look at, some of the horror elements and the set pieces are very well done. You can also tell, guys, that Malignant was a title that certainly had a nice-sized budget behind it. They did some CGI, a lot of things that were, more real effects that they had as well, though. They did a lot, and I think that James Wan is the best in the world at creating, these set pieces that are, building up the scares, right? He doesn't do a lot of fake scares. For the most part, they are all real scares, right? Like things that are really happening. It's not a lot of, the character ends up turning and then their friend's right there or something. It's more of, if that character turns and something is there, it's actually like a real scare. It's not these fake scares that you see in so many horror movies nowadays. Now, that being said, guys, this title overall is very well done. I'm going to give it, guys, a 7.5 out of 10. At the end of the day, guys, there's a couple of cliches, but there's a lot of great things to be had in this. And I've got to tell you, we're not going to get into spoilers regarding, Malignant and, what happens at the very end of the movie. But I got to tell you, from my perspective, this, once again, is James Wan at his best when it comes to horror, where he knows the audience that he's going in for, kind of building up here. And then, of course, wants to create this into another franchise, right? He wants Malignant to be like Insidious, like Saw, where it's built from here. And sure, he started it. He's probably not going to direct any of the other sequels to Malignant, but he's starting it, and now it's going to be up to others to kind of take that torch that he's passing off to continue the legacy now of what they're trying to do here with Malignant. I thought overall it was a really great movie, guys. I think it's a great horror movie. You should definitely check it out without a doubt. And, you know, there were a couple of moments throughout the movie where the question kept on coming up, you know, as I'm watching it. Is this tied into the Conjuring universe, or is it tied into, you know, Insidious in some way or another? You know, you kept on wondering, are we going to see like a reveal that's going to tell us, wow, this is actually in that world? And no, guys, this is a movie that's going to stand on its own unless they try to kind of branch it into one of his other horror universes that he started. But I think there's definitely this mindset or this vision for Malignant that they want this to be a long-withstanding franchise. But with that being said, guys, what did you all think of Malignant? Have you seen it yet? What did you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below, and let's have a real conversation about it. And for more movie reviews, stay here with Zero TV.